The Phoenix Suns are bound to never win another preseason game. Landry Shamet standing continues, and more season preview talk all coming up right away here on Locked On Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On PHX Suns. Follow me on Twitter at Brendon Kleen 14. And thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen every single morning. I'm getting back into the groove of these post-game shows. It has been a long time. And the last one, I have to admit, I was a little bit higher energy than a preseason game in Sacramento that I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to watch. So we will do a quick recap segment here of the preseason game number one, which again, the Suns are determined to not win another of for the foreseeable future. And then I want to keep things moving right along with our Suns preview series, the 13 questions that will define the Phoenix Suns season, an ode to our beloved Steve Nash, of course, with that number. 117 to 106 was the final score for this game. The Kings really had it in control from start to finish. A few things jumped out to me, and it goes right along with what I decided to use today's question on. The question is, can the Suns develop a player currently in the back half of the rotation into a starting caliber championship level type of role player? And it's a perfect time to talk about that. A couple of the guys that stood out to me in this preseason game will get some discussion when we get to that question. But a few things that stood out to me, just sort of bigger picture here from preseason game number one: turnovers. And that's totally reasonable when it comes to a preseason game, of course. But Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, Elfrid Payton, loose with the ball. 16 total turnovers for the Suns. It was fairly well spread out. Everybody was making these mistakes for the most part. Everybody that played outside of Kaminsky and Jalen Smith had a turnover. So it's totally reasonable, right? Again, number one, the playoff game, our number one preseason game of the season. And a lot of guys who don't know each other, no Chris Paul, no Devin Booker to anchor things. Very clear that is the reason for all of those turnovers, but nevertheless, definitely jumped off the screen for a team that we know tends to take care of the ball when they are playing the right way. Which brings me to the next point, which is they were not playing their normal way for good stretches of this game, not playing in 0.5. And I'm not even necessarily going to criticize somebody like Jason Randall or even Elfrid Payton for that. It was even to start the third quarter when I really noticed it, that the Suns were actually, to close the second quarter into the third quarter. They actually started the third quarter on an 8-2 run, but right after that, it was just a lot of sloppiness. It was guys like Frank Kaminsky posting up, taking isolation jumpers. Landry Shamet had a step back three that was not very smart in terms of shot selection, and just some bizarre decisions. But again, very much evident of a team trying to get into rhythm, trying to just get warmed up heading into what will be a long season. The other thing that jumped out to me was the energy and the sort of switch flipping ability of this team. And it's a preseason game. Who won and who lost hardly matters. The Kings played really well. They were moving the ball well. They were shooting threes and making threes, generating good shots. They deserve to win. And I'm not even going to get it. It doesn't matter. The winning and the losing and the score margin and all of that is hardly a matter. But that 8-2 run did show me something, as did a lot of other parts of this game, in which the Suns were able to sort of just imprint onto the game fairly easily with some of the things that we know that they're great at. So that 8-2 run, they're turning defense into offense. They're controlling the pace of the game. Guys are playing aggressively and within themselves and everything else. And it just was a reminder. I would even add Jalen Smith's offensive rebounding here, Abdel Nader's rim attacks, a lot of these things that we know are the good attributes of this team, the ability to get downhill, the ability to play in space, make quick decisions, play as a team, all of that stuff. When they really decided to go ahead and try to wield that advantage, they were able to. So those are just some of the top line things. I mean, look, guys, for the most part, it was just cool and surreal and kind of weird, honestly, to just have Suns basketball back. It doesn't even feel possible that we are already here. Time is fake. I don't know another way to put it. We were just doing this, talking about the NBA Finals. Again, a very weird jump from finals basketball to preseason basketball against the Sacramento Kings. But very, very exciting. I'm sure you all feel that. We're going to need these preseason games to get back into rhythm. No Chris Paul, no Devin Booker again, and no Jay Crowder in this one. So the Suns clearly taking it the same way. Of course, I'm kidding about the Suns never wanting to win another preseason game again. But Monty Williams' priorities, as he told us this week, were very, very clear. He just wants guys to get comfortable playing with one another, which we definitely saw with Campaign and JaVale McGee. That was one of the highlights. Getting guys' legs underneath of them, getting players comfortable and familiar with one another. Jalen Smith, another example of that, playing 32 minutes and again, having that rebounding. He had a nice post score. I think it was sort of a turnaround jumper. Elfrid Payton getting a lot of run. He needs to get comfortable. He'll have to play spot minutes here and there for this team. So those are the goals. Those are the things that Monty wants to achieve coming out of preseason. The Suns did not win a preseason game all of last year. And of course, they were able to have a pretty good regular season, to say the least. So nobody should be worried. Nobody should even be paying attention to whatever the box score says in terms of the final tally on either side of this game. It does not matter. It will not matter. And the reality is, especially when not even all of the guys are playing, it doesn't tell us a whole ton. 12 minutes for Ayton, 12 minutes for Bridges. This was a lot of the backups. This was a lot of different combinations, different strategies, and just kind of trying stuff, getting people comfortable again, that buzzword. So that'll wrap us up for the preview or the recap of the Suns' first preseason game. Hopefully you guys just had fun watching. If you were able to watch, the stream situation was an entire different story. I won't even bother getting into that. As I said, it took me about 20 minutes. Shouts to all the internet code crackers that were able to provide some links to make that happen for those of us who need to watch these things. Appreciate all of you. And hopefully the next one, you guys might be at it. I don't know. I'm sure some of you will be there. I'm not going to be able to because they're playing it at 3. Very warranted, very reasonable decision. They should be playing that game at a time that allows the Mercury to compete on their actual home floor. But a 3 o'clock game for the preseason, I'm not going to take off work to go to make that happen. I'll be watching from the comfort of my home, and I'll be here recapping it for you just like I am right now. Let's pivot over first before we talk about any other preseason games to continue our Suns preview series, asking the question today of, will the Suns develop another who's currently in the back half of the rotation into a starting caliber, championship caliber role player? And we'll get to that in just a second. First, though, quick word from DirecTV. Tell me this does not sound familiar. You've got one device that lets you watch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login just for the good stuff as well. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment that you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. The best part is there is no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Today's show is also brought to you by Shopify. We are excited to welcome Shopify as a new sponsor to our show, and I love the Shopify sound. Cha-ching. It's the sound of another sale on Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved just for big businesses, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility. Believe me, this podcast started out selling. Man, what did we have at the very beginning? I think the reality is we had just about no ads at the very beginning. And today we're giving you products like Built Bar, my absolute favorite, and of course, Shopify and the lovely deals that they are doing over there. We're not stopping because success is a million milestones on a forever evolving path. I know you guys can relate. I love how Shopify has the tools and resources to make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. Again, make this your normal. Shopify can help. Starting a business, building a business, growing a business. Shopify is there for you. Like mine, Shopify powers over 1.7 billion businesses from first sale to full scale. You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is possibility powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/LockedOnNBA right now. That's Shopify, shopify.com/LockedOnNBA. Question number 5 here in our Suns preview series. 13 questions that will define the Phoenix Suns season. Thank you to everybody who has made Locked On Suns your first listen every single morning. Catch us at Locked On PHX Suns on Twitter. Of course, the Locked On Suns YouTube channel continuing to grow. I remain optimistic. We only have 2 weeks left. We are growing. I think we can get to 1,000 before opening night of the NBA season. It's going to take each and every one of you telling your friends and family, the Suns fans in your life, to subscribe to Locked On Suns on YouTube. Make that part of their daily routine, just like it's part of yours. It would do us a big favor. It would grow this community. We'll get to do stuff like live streams after games where you guys can interact in the comment sections, hoping to do all of that and more. So it's just going to be about you guys spreading the good word and getting more folks into our little community here. Question number 5, though, as I referenced in that first segment, is can the Suns develop a player currently in the back half of the rotation into a starting caliber player or a championship level role player? And it's a perfect time to do this. Like I said, I was able to get into the Suns practice facility for the first time ever. I was going to say the first time of the season, but wasn't able to go last year, of course. And none of us were. Even during the finals and playoffs when they were doing in-person media, that was only at the arena. They did not allow us to go to the lab, which is, of course, what they call it, down in Arcadia, Camelback, and 44th Street. Beautiful Camelback Mountain, the Echo Canyon hiking area to the east, more mountains to the north. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous spot. And obviously inside, I was able to catch a little bit of the end of Suns practice, really just shooting drills and that type of thing. And most importantly, start to do some reporting for the first time this season. And we're hearing good stuff. Obviously, I've been on the Zooms and everything already, but the guy I actually wanted to start with here is somebody that I've already been standing, and I know it's a little bit of a bit at this point, kind of a joke, but I'm being very serious when I say that Landry Shamet has to be thought of as number 1 on any list like this. I did my draft night recap show, and I was confused about the move. I don't like, shuffling the deck in that way where you're not able to get a young asset. You're not able to build develop a player, build a career from the bottom up. And Landry Shamet may get expensive and might be out of the price range soon. All of that stuff, obviously, I was there for. But setting that aside, as I just said, setting the standing aside, setting the logistics of the salary cap and all this other stuff all the way in a different room, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about player development, and we're talking about this season who could take that smaller leap. We talked with Max McCauley on Monday. I recommend everybody check that show out about which Suns player on the offensive end could take a major leap to become a third scorer. All the usual suspects we talked about there. This is a little bit different, but it matters a lot because if you don't pick somebody with the 29th pick, if you don't necessarily hit on Jalen Smith, if you don't, sign a undrafted free agent and you trade your second round picks away and on, you buy out you traded Anthony Melton so you can buy out, Kyle Korver and get rid of Josh Jack, like all of these things that you've heard me nitpick about for years. It matters so much more that these younger role players can keep growing into something bigger. And I think Landry Shamet easily has the best shot to do that on this entire roster. I came around to the deal after that initial reaction on draft night when I lumped it in with all of those other short-sighted moves that I obviously don't always love. I came around to it. I remember all of a sudden 1 week during the offseason, I was like, I have to do an episode really taking stock of what Landry Shamet can be. And I really, truly ended up coming around to it as the best move of the offseason. I think it really could pan out that way. I think he's leaps and bounds better than Javon Carter in terms of playability and, what the modern NBA needs of players, quick decisions, ability to handle and move the ball enough to stay on the floor, great shooter, and bigger than Javon, where he at least you hope can stay on the floor. And beyond that, I did another episode, I think even past that one, where I made the Seth Curry comparison, because that was something I couldn't get off my mind. And I don't think it's unrealistic because, look, like I went through it a while ago. The benchmark of Seth Curry is probably unfair to anybody. But when you look at how slowly that progression came, I think that is when you really start to see why it's not that crazy. Seth Curry didn't break out for a while. I mean, he is 6'2", so he's a bit smaller than Landry Shamet, but not by much. But Seth didn't really break out until 2016-17 when he played 70 games for Dallas, started 42, and made 43% of his threes, attempted almost 5 per game. That was the big blowout for him. And then last year, I would say he really even took it up another level. And in the playoffs, he scored 19 points a game. Who knows if that's sustainable, but he has this two-man game with Joel Embiid. He's had it with other players in the past, and that's the type of impact that I think Landry Shamet could have. And you see, even with Seth Curry, I was just talking about the defense when I was comparing Shamet to Carter, and Curry sort of shows us, in my opinion, the ability of a role player like that to basically still, of a role-playing guard, a smaller guard, less than starting caliber type of guard to hold up and be massively important in the playoffs, even if the defense isn't there. And I don't think that, as optimistic as I am about Landry Shamet, and he's doing around the back dribble moves and reverse layups and step back pull up threes and flashy passes, like he was showing off in this preseason game. But aside from all of that, I don't think the defense, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to build his defense up just to make my own case and sound better that this guy is somebody that I'm excited about. I think the defense is obviously a question mark, but Seth Curry is a worse defender than Landry Shamet. I mean, smaller, shorter arms, and less mobile and less agile, in my opinion. Pretty, relatively slow player, Seth Curry. Just, he is what he is. He's compact dude who runs around screens, gets shots up, and you're going to hide him on defense. But last season for the Hawks, they played 12, or the Sixers, and they obviously played the Hawks, played 12 games for Philly in the playoffs last year, was able to play 32 minutes for them. He's never in a playoff run played less than 20 minutes per game. His shooting becomes vital. He's developed as a playmaker. He has that two-man game and screen and roll game that he can kind of figure out his way through because of the gravity that he creates. So the end-all be-all of this whole point is that Shamet has obviously untapped upside within himself, just skill that we've not seen in terms of handling the ball, passing the ball. And I honestly think, creating his own shot as a three-point shooter, pull-up threes, that type of thing, if they're willing to put the ball into his hands, which we already saw tonight, that's already there. But then on top of it, there is a track record of players like this who become integral parts of their team's rotations when that shooting just gets to that elite level, and when they have the chemistry with their teammates and the comfort level with their teammates, that they're able to sort of rise above the limitations. So Landry Shamet shot 42% from deep as a rookie, 38% in 2019-20, and 39% last year. He is right on the cusp of that truly elite number where you're talking about Curry in the 45% range. He's been at 45% the past 3 regular seasons. Shamit's not too far away from that, and I think we could see him get a lot closer this year. So he is clearly vote number one for players. Take that leap from, fringe rotation player, bench guy, starts every so often, not trustworthy. And then you get to the playoffs last year. He's hardly playing for Brooklyn, to somebody that the Suns really are counting on, who really matters, who is playing a great deal in the postseason. That is the guy that I think inevitably is going to be a factor in that conversation. But the other two I actually want to talk about might surprise you guys. And one is on the wing and one is a big man. I've talked about the big man quite a bit. I'm sure you can guess who that is. But the wing is actually a little bit more interesting. And it piggybacks off of the reporting that I was able to do at the practice facility. So I'll tell you guys about that in just one second. First, though, a quick word from BetOnline.ag, which is back and better than ever as all eyes are on the gridiron with teams back for another football season. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the pro and college football action all season long. With a new and updated site and interface, that means you get even more odds, props, and contests, while BetOnline continues to be, once again, that number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device, make an account today, and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use the promo code LOCKEDON. Again, that's betonline.ag on the web or on your mobile device. Make an account, put that first little bit of money in, and use the promo code LOCKEDON when you do to get a 50% welcome bonus straight to your account. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, take advantage of all the amazing offers available to you all season long at betonline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Closing out the show here, continuing to answer question number 5 here on our Suns preview series, 13 questions that will define the Phoenix Suns season. Go ahead and follow the show on Twitter if you are not already, at LockedOnPHX Suns, to follow the conversation all throughout the preseason. Just about 2 weeks away from opening tip of the Suns season on October 20th. I don't know where the time has gone, but let's continue to preview it because time is of the essence here as we get closer to that opening tip. The guy that I was teasing heading into that break is the wing that I'm excited about. And listeners from last year will be surprised effectively 0% at who I'm about to say. But maybe you're new or you forgot. Abdel Nader is, of course, the player that I'm referring to. It was very odd, I think we all can agree, to see Nader head into the NBA Finals, or I believe the conference finals is when he was able to actually return to the floor healthy. Let me see here. We are at the game log. I believe it was game 3 of the conference finals. That's what I want to say. Game 4 of the conference finals. Suddenly, Nader is playing 5 minutes, 9 minutes, 6 minutes, and then he plays 7 minutes in game 3 of the finals. That was garbage time. That was the game when now we know Booker hurt his hamstring. Very strange to see Nader thrust back into that role, of course. He had been hurt with the knee injury for weeks from August 20. No, completely wrong. What am I doing here? From, I believe, I want to say like April, March even. March 21st was the last game that he played. And then all of a sudden he's in this playoff action. But that should not take away from the fact that I think this guy is going to play a role this season. The Suns, of course, gave him a few $100,000 more than his minimum. They obviously valued him coming back. They cast aside Langston Galloway, E'Twaun Moore. Both of those players are gone, distant memories. Langston Galloway did not even get an NBA contract, unfortunately. Torrey Craig took a bigger deal elsewhere, but the Suns went out and made it a priority to get Nader to return to the Valley. And I don't think that should just go underappreciated or unnoticed. They wanted him here. He, because of the departure of Torrey Craig, is looking to be the backup 3. Now, there's other ways around that, of course. You could see, and I think we will see, based on what Chris Paul apparently has been telling the coaching staff, according to Monty Williams, that they would like to play with Landry Shamet, the starters, Book and Chris and Shamet together, I think is a lineup we will see a lot. We obviously know Cameron Payne can play with those two guys. So I think those top 4 guards will get quite a bit of run here. And then we obviously know that between Bridges, Johnson, and Crowder, there will be plenty of 4 forward role to go around. And then you have the 5. So I'm not saying that I'm expecting Nader to go out there and be getting 20 minutes a night right away. But I think what he brings, and the reason that I feel optimistic, is that they already trust him to do, I would say 3 things, really. They have taken to calling Abdel Nader downhill Dooley. And they do this, apparently, this like negative slope with their arm, for those of you who remember algebra class there. And they like that he can get to the basket. That's number 1. That was true from the beginning of the season. The reason that my whole joke bit of being a Nader stan started last year, this was Landry Shamet before there was Landry Shamet on this podcast, was because he attacked the rim like a maniac. And that's going to continue to happen. The other thing that you can trust him to do is to make threes. He's a career 36% three-point shooter. He has now taken 336 threes in the NBA. And he's made 36% of them. So, I feel relatively confident saying he is an average three-point shooter in the NBA. And if you give him some open threes, especially from the corner, I'm not worried about that going down at all. I trust that he's going to make those. And last but not least, Monty Williams this week, when I was at practice, was saying that he has been able to see a lot more from Nader on ball defensively. That's why he said he actually went back to the playoff situation himself, Monty did, and kind of, I think he was sort of explaining himself a little bit in a way he may not have been able to in the heat of the moment back in the summer, and said, like, we liked the man defense, the ISO defense that Nader was able to give. He's obviously long. He has a pretty good frame. He's not quite as strong as you might like him to be, but he's plenty good enough for a regular season role. And when you can attack the rim in transition or off of a closeout or off of a cut, make your threes and defend, why would you not get an opportunity? And I think we really would have seen that last year if Nader had not gotten injured with that knee, because the Suns were riding him. Monty liked having him out there. My joking aside, this was a player who was contributing. He was regularly playing. From February 26th on, he didn't crack below 11 minutes until that injury happened in the end of March. So for about a month straight, this is a guy who was playing, 10 to 25 minutes for the Suns every single night. You imagine the chemistry and the comfort and the confidence he would have gained playing for the last month plus of the regular season and the beginning of the playoffs. And I think that he would have been a pretty possible part of that Suns playoff rotation last year. So the idea that he's going to do it this year wouldn't surprise me one bit. Last but not least here, the last guy that I want to hit on is, I'm going to end on a negative note. And it's just we were able to talk to Jalen Smith. That is the last guy I was referencing a minute ago in terms of the big man that I wanted to hit on, with going across the position spectrum here, guard, wing, big man. And I'm not optimistic that Jalen Smith is actually going to break through here. And maybe that's not breaking news to anybody. I had held out hope that, if nothing else, he was productive in the summer league, right? And specifically, the productivity came on the glass. I think he's pretty genuinely good as a rebounder. I mentioned that at the top of the show in terms of this preseason game, where he was able to make a difference on the offensive glass. That's clearly a skill of his. He had 3 offensive rebounds, I believe, in this game. So that's there. He can make open threes, and he has a little bit of juice. And so I wanted to be optimistic. James Jones has repeatedly said that he's going to have an opportunity to compete for a rotation spot, and I believe that. Obviously, he got 32 minutes in this preseason game leading the team, and he was spoon-fed massive opportunity all summer league long. So that is the proof that he's getting the chance to grow into a bigger role here. But I just don't see Monty going away from Frank Kaminsky. And you factor in what I just said about Abdel Nader as well, and the other 10 guys that I already listed, and the fact that at some point in the season, they're probably going to want to work Dario Saric back if they are able to, and he'll get, priority in the rotation over all of those guys if he's able to play. I don't see it. And I think if you're looking for who is going to be like the 10th or 11th man to play in a regular season for the Suns, whether that's because of injury or just Monty has a deep rotation or whatever it might be, Monty has shown us, he showed us last year, he showed us even the year before with guys like Aaron Baines, who got a lot of run, who were playing more than we expected and everything, that even Javon Carter, to an extent, is more of a known commodity than an upside guy. I mean, how much did we see Javon Carter play over Elie Okobo in Monty's first season? Monty will play the proven commodity, the guy that he trusts, the guy that knows the system and the scheme and doesn't take too many risks and just goes out there and does his job way more than he's going to pick the guy who, theoretically may use that opportunity to develop into a better player. I don't think Monty sees things that way. So while I do think that they'll experiment and try things from a development standpoint in terms of giving guys like Johnson and Bridges and Ayton and Shamet more responsibility in games, I don't think that this is going to be a team that just wraps a role in a gift bag and hands it to any young player who comes through. And so I truly don't think that Jalen Smith is going to be that guy this season. Now, I think he could play more in the regular season than he did last year, which was effectively none. I think if there is an injury and Kaminsky were to slide in, then that means Jalen Smith could slide into Kaminsky's spot. I think you're going to see a season where Sticks plays considerably more. We see a lot more of him. He's not hidden and protected in the way that he was last year. Last season, he played 156 minutes. I think you're going to see something probably double that would be my guess, but I don't think he'll have that consistent role and spot in that rotation. And I think that he'll have to earn a lot. And I just don't see it happening because as much as I obviously make fun of Frank Kaminsky in my own way and dread the stress of watching that guy because of the struggle that it is for him to score and protect the rim and everything else, of course, I know he's a much more proven and better regular season player right now heading into 2021-22 than Jalen Smith is. You'd have to be crazy to say otherwise. So I just think that's where Monty's going to lean. So I'm pretty optimistic that Landry Shamet can really become something big for this team. I feel pretty confident that Abdel Nader could work his way into the regular season rotation. And look, Torrey Craig showed us last season, it only takes a hot streak from three and some, pep in your step from a defensive standpoint to make a difference in some playoff games. And I don't buy it with Jalen Smith. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Comment section on YouTube, at Locked On PHX Suns on Twitter. Let me know who you think could be the one to develop into a bigger role that they don't currently have. Somebody we could be hearing from come playoff time, especially that is in this Suns roster already. I think it's a fun conversation. I think it's an interesting one. And I actually think there are more candidates than meets the eye here, despite my frequent frustrations over the development pipeline here in the Valley for these Suns. All right, that closes us out. Hope you enjoyed the recap of the preseason game. I'm just along for the ride, just like you guys are with that. But question number 5 was a fun one. Be back tomorrow with Damon Allred of Zona Hoops and Bright Side of the Sun, who will be back. He is actually the title holder for the most watched YouTube video on the Locked On Suns channel. So I guess that's good luck. Had to bring Damon back. We will be talking about, let me see what my schedule says here. Can Cam Johnson overtake Jay Crowder as the Suns' 5th starter? That will be question number 6 as we're nearly halfway through this preview series. So stay tuned. Make Locked On Suns your first listen every single day, and I will talk to you tomorrow.